Their wedding day arrived with much joy and celebration. Bella felt a cautious optimism as she walked down the aisle, her heart full of love for Daniel. But their greatest fear awaited them. On their wedding night, after consummating their union, Bella lay in Daniel's arms, revealing in their union the air thickened, turning ice cold. Their joy was short-lived, because soon after, the shadowy figure appeared in their room, more furious than ever. His form was darker, his presence more suffocating. "You dare defy me?" he roared, his voice shaking the walls. Daniel woke briefly, only for the figure to cast a spell that plunged him into a deep, unnatural sleep. Bella tried to fight, but she was paralyzed with fear as the shadow approached her. "You are mine," he growled, his touch cold and invasive. That night, Bella experienced a violation beyond words, her screams unheard as the figure claimed her again and again. His touch was cruel, his whispers filled with venom and ownership. She endured, her body racked with pain beyond words. When it was over, she lay in the darkness, broken and defeated, her spirit dimming with every breath. Welcome back to my channel. Have fun as you listen to this chilling story. Let's get to it. Imagine having to suffer for something you know nothing about, then struggling to break a bond that you knew not of. Such was the struggles of Bella, a beautiful girl, yet one with a life of mysterious happenings all around her. Bella's story began long before she was born, with a pact forged in desperation. Her parents, childless after 10 years of marriage, sought help from a revered river god known for granting impossible wishes. One moonlit night, they traveled to the riverbank, armed with offerings of kola nuts, a white dove, and whispers of hope. The water shimmered unnaturally as they called out, and the river god emerged, his voice a deep rumble that seemed to echo from the depths of the earth itself. "I know what you seek. I will grant you a child," he intoned, "but on one condition. This child will be bound to me. She will be mine in spirit, even as she walks the earth." Desperation clouded their judgment. They agreed, their tears of gratitude masking the weight of the bargain they had just struck. Bella was born a year later, a beautiful child with a peculiar aura about her. She seemed to glow in the moonlight, and strangers often remarked on how her presence felt otherworldly. Her parents kept the pact a secret, hoping against hope that it would never matter. But it did. As Bella grew older, strange things began to happen. At 13, she started having vivid dreams of a man she had never met. A shadowy figure with piercing eyes and a voice like distant thunder. He spoke to her in her dreams, calling her my bride, his beloved, his possession, and promising eternal companionship. She tried to ignore the pull, but the harder she resisted, the more persistent he became. Each night, he grew bolder, wrapping himself around her like a shadowy mist, whispering words she didn't understand but felt deep in her bones. One night, she woke up gasping for air, her body trembling as an overwhelming pressure surrounded her, an invisible force draining her strength. She dismissed the dreams as childish fantasies, but they became more frequent and unsettling. At times, the shadowy figure would hug her tightly as she slept. Though she would feel his grip, she would always struggle to open her eyes or even turn. The figure would make her polarized in her sleep. In the morning, she'd always wake up shocked and very afraid. One day, she decided to tell her mother about her struggles. But her mother, afraid and insecure, told not to worry about it, dismissing her ordeal as mere dreams that didn't mean anything, masking her own fear with forced reassurance. By the time Bella turned 20, the man, or whatever he was, had begun to manifest in her waking life. It started subtly, a chill in the air when she was alone, whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Then came the sicknesses. She would wake up gasping for breath, her skin clammy and pale, as if life itself were being drained from her. She was taken for treatment, but the doctors found nothing wrong, dismissing her symptoms as anxiety. Years passed, and Bella learned to live with her torment. She tried to convince herself that it was all in her head. Until one night, the shadowy figure decided to make his way with Bella, claiming that she was old enough to be his bride. He caused a deep sleep on her and had his way with her throughout the night. She felt a presence unlike anything before. He had come for her. The pain was unspeakable, but what horrified her most was the sense of ownership in his touch, the way he whispered in satisfaction as if he had waited for this moment all his life. The following morning, Bella woke up shocked and in pain. Her sheets were stained with blood, her innocence stolen by something she could neither see nor fight. She cried until her voice was raw, but she told no one, knowing no one would believe her. This marked the beginning of a new struggle. The river god shadowy figure would make love to her, without fail, a torment that she had to learn to live with. She wanted to confide in someone, but the words wouldn't come. Fear choked her, and the silence became her prison. Unable to endure her reality, she fled to a new city, leaving behind the horrors of her past, with the hope for a new beginning. For a moment, she felt free. She found solace in the bustling life around her, pretending to be normal and to be free. She made new friends and acquaintances, attending parties and gatherings as would girls her age. Her happiness was renewed with her now new life. Her past was now just that. Her past? Or was it? In her quest to live a normal life, during one of her outings with her friend, she met Daniel, a kind and ambitious man who adored her. For a while, it seemed like she could escape the shadow that had loomed over her since childhood. Their relationship was the envy of their friends, a match made in heaven. They had the best moments together. Their friends would often tease them, calling them the best couple in town. Unfortunately, when she and Daniel became engaged, the river god's wrath descended like a storm. It began on the night of their engagement party. As Bella stood by Daniel's side, accepting congratulations from friends and family, she felt a sharp, icy grip on her wrist. Turning, she saw nothing but empty air. Yet the grip tightened, and a voice whispered in her ear, "You are mine. You cannot belong to him. You're bound to me forever." These words sent a chill down her spine, and she fainted on the spot, her vision turning to blackness. When she awoke, Daniel was at her side, concern etched into his features. She wanted to tell him, to confide in the one person who loved her beyond reason, but the words wouldn't come. Fear choked her, and the silence became her prison. After that day, the hauntings escalated. Her once peaceful home became a place of terror. Objects in her home moved on their own. Doors slammed, mirrors cracked when she looked into them. At night, she would wake to find the shadowy figure sitting at the foot of her bed, his eyes burning with anger. "Break the engagement now. You're mine. You're mine. You're mine forever," he commanded. "If you don't, you'll suffer the consequences," he roared. He struck Bella with unnatural sickness in order to punish her for not heeding to his warnings. Bella's health deteriorated, and she grew thin and pale, plagued by numerous relentless nightmares. In one, for instance, she was drowning in the river while the shadowy figure watched from the shore, laughing. In another, she stood at the altar with Daniel, only for the shadow to appear and drag her away into darkness, leaving the congregants screaming in shock. Each night, she woke screaming, her body soaked in sweat. Daniel noticed her growing frailty, the way exhaustion clung to her, the way she would wake up screaming, drenched in sweat. He wanted to help, but how does one fight what they cannot see? When Bella finally confessed her truth, Daniel listened without skepticism. He was afraid, yes, but more than that, he was determined to help her. He wanted nothing more than to see Bella happy and free from her tormentor. At some point, the shadowy figure carried her in her sleep and left her at the banks of the river. It was some herders that saw her and woke her up, fearing that she was dead or something was terribly wrong with her. When he narrated her ordeal to Daniel, they both made a deliberate decision to seek help as things were getting out of hand. Daniel, though worried, remained steadfast. He sought help from priests and spiritualists, but none could dispel the dark presence. One night, a particularly powerful priest visited Bella's home. As he began his prayers, the room grew unbearably cold. A deep, guttural laugh echoed through the walls, and the candles extinguished themselves. The priest fled, muttering about forces beyond his control, leaving Bella and Daniel confused and stranded in their troubles. That was the moment Daniel realized they were truly alone. Though Daniel was spiritually woken, something somehow was weakening him spiritually. He was raised in a very spiritual family, and hence he knew this was not an ordinarily spiritual attack. Something was making the shadowy figure feel the need to fight for this territory called Bella. He spoke to Bella on the matter, hoping to find out the root of all her troubles, and after analyzing the events that had occurred on Bella's life since childhood, he felt that Bella's parents might give light and help them solve the puzzle terrorizing their lives. They invited Bella's parent to the city, hoping to unmask the truth. The final straw came when Bella's parents confessed the truth. Trembling, they told her about the pact with the river god, about the condition they had accepted without understanding its full implications. Bella's rage was incandescent, but it was quickly replaced by despair. How could she fight a god? An evil, unforgiving one at that. But despite her fears, she and Daniel were determined to be free to live their lives normal as everyone else. Desperate for answers, Bella and Daniel sought the help of a local pastor known for his spiritual battles. The pastor urged them to fast and pray, and for weeks they dedicated themselves to seeking divine intervention. The prayers seemed to help, the hauntings lessened, and for the first time, Bella began to feel hopeful. Their wedding day arrived with much joy and celebration. Bella felt a cautious optimism as she walked down the aisle, her heart full of love for Daniel. But their greatest fear awaited them. On their wedding night, after consummating their union, the shadowy figure appeared in their room, more furious than ever. His form was darker, his presence more suffocating. "You dare defy me?" he roared, his voice shaking the walls. Daniel woke briefly, only for the figure to cast a spell that plunged him into a deep, unnatural sleep. Bella was paralyzed with fear as the shadow approached her. "You are mine," he growled, his touch cold and invasive. That night, Bella experienced a violation beyond words, her screams unheard as the figure claimed her again and again. He had had her before, but this was different. It was as though he purposed to destroy her completely. In each penetration, she experienced unspeakable pain. But this was a pain she had to bear alone, because even though she had no doubt that Daniel loved her, revealing such ordeals would shake, if not break, their relationship permanently. From that night on, the shadow would return. Each time, it would lull Daniel into a heavy sleep and torment Bella, whispering to her, "You're mine forever," each time. Her spirit weakened. Her body grew frailer. The hauntings worsened. Every night, he came for her. Daniel, once strong and unwavering, fell mysteriously ill. He grew sickly and weak. His health deteriorated, and doctors found no cause. Amid the darkness, a flicker of light appeared. Bella discovered she was pregnant. For a moment, joy returned to their lives. They saw the child as a sign of hope, a reason to keep fighting. But their happiness was short-lived. The shadow's rage intensified, and one night, Bella woke to find herself bleeding. The shadow stood by her bedside, his eyes glowing with cruel satisfaction. She lost the baby that night, and with it, a part of her soul. She was shattered beyond repair, a pain and grief that would haunt her forever. Grief consumed Bella and Daniel, but it also gave them a renewed determination. They went seeking for spiritual help and met a pastor, who led them through even deeper prayers and sacrifices. Pastor, known for his battles against dark forces, did not flee like the previous one. Instead, he armed them with faith, with scripture, with the unwavering belief that no darkness could withstand the power of true conviction. They gave up their possessions, donated to the church, and dedicated themselves fully to God. The pastor warned them that the final battle would be the hardest, But Bella and Daniel were ready. On the 7th night of their renewed fasting and prayers, Bella and Daniel returned to the river. This time, they were armed with scripture, holy oil, and an unshakable faith. As they prayed, the river roared, and the shadowy figure appeared, his form monstrous and enraged. "You will never be free of me," he bellowed, the water rising around him. But Bella and Daniel stood firm, reciting their prayers with unyielding conviction. The figure lunged at them, but a blinding light erupted from the pastor's cross. The shadow screamed in agony, his form dissolving into the river. The water stilled, and an overwhelming peace fell over the scene. An eerie silence settled around them. The battle was over. Bella and Daniel returned home, exhausted but victorious. The hauntings ceased, and Daniel's health improved. Bella, though scarred, began to heal. They began to rebuild their lives, leaning on their faith and each other. Though the scars of their ordeal remained, they found solace in the knowledge that they had overcome a darkness that once seemed insurmountable. In time, Bella became pregnant again. This time, the pregnancy was peaceful, and they welcomed a healthy baby boy into the world. They named him Emmanuel, a testament to the divine intervention that had saved their family. And though the whispers of the river occasionally reached Bella's ears, she knew they held no power over her anymore. Her life was her own, and she would never again be bound by the devastating memories of the past. She chose to live and be happy, burying her past and making new and beautiful memories with her beloved family. Did you like my story? What do you think Bella did wrongly to prolong her ordeal? I'd like to know your thoughts. Please leave a comment and share. Also hit the subscribe button, it's absolutely free. Thank you, and see you in the next one. Peace.